in this episode.
It's just simple. Tech is evolution. It's 1990 versus 2020. Life was a lot different back in 1990 than it is now. You always heard that cliche phrase of, and it holds true in certain aspects, but it was like the coaches will still find the good ones. They'll find you. If you're good enough, they'll find you.
If I'm playing on a Legion team in Hobunk, Kansas, there's no way a college coach is going to find out. Unless I throw like 94, 95.
Yeah, but you got to do something pretty spectacular.
If you're in that situation, you've got to do something super spectacular. There were some tech pieces where it was like, we're going to look back at this and it'd be almost like laughable. Where it was like, why did we even think that was a really good thing?
Let's finish it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and I'm joined by my co-host, David Birkby. This show is about culture, people, and how to create a winning lifestyle. Our goal is to bring a blue-collar mentality and deliver hard-hitting questions of culture and people. There's no hidden agenda, just straight talk. We're going to take a bit of a pivot in this episode. We're going to talk more about baseball. If that interests you, we'd love to have you stay on and listen. If that doesn't, we'll be back with another episode and talk more about culture and people. But we thought this was going to be a very interesting topic, and I know that there's a lot of questions right now floating in the baseball space. Every year we go to the ABCA, which is a national coaches convention. It is the coolest thing ever. If you're a baseball junkie, there's just so many people, so many mindsets. You got professionals all the way down to youth in one room trying to figure out this game a little bit better and share ideas like what's working, what's not working. And every year that we go, there is so much tech. It is unbelievable. Literally, when we went to Nashville this year, or last year, No, it was this year.
Yeah.
It was this year. We were at the Peabody Opera House, and almost every single row had what?
Peabody?
Isn't the Peabody?
No.
What was it?
It was the Opryland.
Oh, Opryland. Peabody Opryland, right?
You said Opera House.
Oh, Opera House. Oh, geez. Okay. Anyways, but that's besides the point. Who cares? Everyone knows that we are
Fact
in
check
the city
one. Dave 1, Spiker 0.
We were in the city of Nashville.
Go
on. And every single row had a tech piece.
Oh, there were hundreds of them. I mean, there's thousands of exhibitors there every year, and this year was a little bit different from in past, at least in my opinion, where tech was king. I mean, that was where when they were doing, showings of their tech, how it works, examples. I mean, there were crowds of people around those exhibitors just trying to find out that next thing that's maybe going to help their program or help their game succeed. It was crazy. A lot of cool conversations, too.
Yeah, I remember the first year that we went to the ABCA, I saw HitTrax, and I was like, holy smokes, this is really cool. This is unbelievable. And they were like the only ones really there that was like tech.
That and then your standard radar gun.
Yeah, your standard radar gun. I think Blast was there, but it was like a small little booth, maybe.
I don't know about that.
You don't think Blast was there?
I don't think so.
But anyways, HitTrax like literally stole the show that year, and everyone was talking about it. And then the price range was just like, whoa, I don't know about this. But it's now almost in every single facility. You have different competitors like Rapsodo, Blast Motion, which we are a part of. You have Diamond Kinetics. I mean, there were some tech pieces where it was like, we're going to look back at this and it'd be almost like laughable, where it was like, why did we even think that was a really good idea? But then there's going to be other pieces where we kind of underestimate it and be like, whoa, how did we not see that?
I mean, it's a huge part of the game now. If you look at a major league, I would love to see from a major league team's budget standpoint how much money is spent on tech every year, especially from the good ones. Because I once heard I heard a cool analogy from a guy who's in the tech space in terms of like where certain MLB teams are in terms of tech and where certain MLB teams are not. And he gave the analogy of flying a rocket ship to the moon. And he's like, you got some that are already on the moon who are already building up their colonies there. You got other teams that are kind of on the way there. And then you got some who haven't even began to build the rocket at Earth. So it's like, but some are going all in on this because they see it as a major, major advantage for their players, for their organization, how they can how they can just get that major leg up.
So people that don't know these names that we're saying, like HitTrax, Blast Motion, Diamond Kinetics, a new one that's going to be out for Major League Baseball is Hawkeye. If you're familiar with tennis or cricket, Hawkeye has been in those games for quite a while, but now Major League Baseball is going to introduce it. But what HitTrax is and Rapsodo, those are two similar units, two similar technologies, and they both tell you the data after contact. What's happening after contact. When the player hits the ball, what is the ball doing? So that includes launch angle, exit velocity, you name
distance,
it. Yeah, distance,
spin, everything.
And there's differences with both products, but we won't go into that. I'm just giving you a quick overview. And then you have Blast Motion and Diamond Kinetics, which are pre-swing data. So what they do is they tell you what's happening in the player's swing leading up to contact. And then you have the pitching side, which is a whole nother conversation, which you have Diamond Kinetics and Rapsodo.
Yep.
Both
telling you velocity, telling you spin, telling you axis of your spin, telling you how your ball moved, when your ball started moving. Everything.
And why is this important to the layman person? Why is all of this important? Why do we need to know all these numbers? All I just got to know is, are we winning or are we not winning?
Yeah, and in very simple terms, sure, but all these numbers, if taught correctly, and I think we'll get into this, in this episode, if taught correctly, I think these can not only validate adjustments, but also help with adjustments. Because the hardest thing in baseball, that at least as an instructor, the hardest thing that I always try to, or that the hardest thing I have trouble teaching is feel. Is like how I can see what you need to do as a player. I'm giving you that adjustment, but it's really hard to not only teach that feel of that adjustment, but then also validate why that adjustment is being made. Numbers validate an adjustment being made. If you can see after performing an adjustment 100 to 300 times, and now your numbers have gone up in a positive tick, and now you're able to do certain different things in a game, but you have a real science behind it. You have a real understanding of how that just happened, and the numbers validate it, then you're hooked, and you're just going to keep diving into those numbers over and over, and that's what this tech gives us.
Yep. And I think the teaching side is probably the most exciting part. Recruiting side is really interesting because it's going to change communication when you start getting older and you start saying, all right, is this player really at the skill level of a Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA? I think that, or even a professional, I think that's going to tell you a lot of who that player is, and then it's not going to be like, well, the coach doesn't like me. It's like, no, your numbers aren't very good.
Yeah.
I think it helps on that communication standpoint, but from a teachable standpoint, when you have like a youth coach saying, well, all these numbers are just going to make my kid think about other stuff and rather than what he needs to do. And you are right, but you are wrong at the same time. Mm-hmm. Is that if the player knows what he's looking at, it's just like a video game. Mm-hmm. When you start figuring out, oh, this number does this number does that, the player starts realizing, oh, this is what I need to do. If I do this, I'm going to get this result. That's why video games are so addicting, because you have a level 1, a level 2, a level 3. It's the same thing with this tech. When you start figuring out the numbers, it's going to become one of those things where it's like, hey, how do I get it better? How do I get my rotation score better? Like, I'm getting Instagram DMs on our Rawlings Tigers account, and players are asking me, hey, I have this number. What does this mean?
That is the toughest thing with tech, in my opinion, because it's great information. Mm-hmm. If you, one, know how to use that information, and two, if you know how to not get caught up in it and stay in that kind of middle ground, mm-hmm. Because I think we've had players who will just go all in, and it's almost like paralysis by analysis. So overanalyze every swing, every throw, everything they do. You keep seeing their eyes right after they perform that action, go right to the screen, the monitor, et cetera, to see what their numbers were, rather than worrying about some of the other things they probably should be worrying about. And like I've even heard it taken to a whole extreme level of certain major league organizations don't even share numbers with players. They don't want them thinking. They'll give them an adjustment, and they'll tell them why they're doing this adjustment based on the numbers that now they've collected. But then after that, you don't get to see your numbers anymore.
I always viewed it as playing Call of Duty. That was one of the duty. Anyways, sorry, that's a Wreck-It Ralph. That's a Wreck-It Ralph joke. I love Wreck-It Ralph. But anyways,
this is a clean show, Spiker.
Call of Duty. I loved that game when I was in high school and college because it really I just loved playing that game. I don't know why, but you never look at like your stats when you're playing that game. You always look at it after the fact.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with this tech.
Yeah.
You don't look at your swing every single time. That's just that's pointless unless you're trying to make a single adjustment on a single number. But I think you just get an overview of like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at. Awesome, sweet. That's literally what it should be like. It shouldn't be like, all right, you've now done this, you've now done that.
It should, but that's super, super hard to do. I mean, when you get that type of instantaneous feedback, that is it's so difficult to not get wrapped up on each pitch, each swing, each whatever. I mean, that's real hard, dude.
Well, it's the same thing with the video guy. Every team has it. There's always a video guy on the team.
Yeah.
He looks at every single swing after the game. Every single one.
And I just think you're going to go down a deep rabbit hole with that. I don't think there's not many guys who I've seen succeed in the game who have been like over analyzing. I mean, there are the few exceptions, but I think those guys will just never be. They'll lose touch and focus on what is really important in it.
Well, you talked to Eric Webb on Instagram Live, and what was literally his point on this?
Well, he had a great take.
It wasn't on tech.
No. Well, he even dove into it because we asked him a question about like what's his day to day like, and what does he kind of do, and how does he approach his game, and what does he use to succeed. And I have mentioned on the Instagram Live that I think Eric Webb has had one of the best approaches to the game that I've ever had, or I've ever heard of or seen from a player that I've coached or played against. And that was he really had a great understanding of how to simplify this game. Simplify each at bat, simplify what his job is, what he's out there to do. He talked about it in the Instagram Live. It's going to be a podcast, right? So make sure you go listen to it.
It's going to be in the episode
before this one?
Before this one.
Okay, so you've probably already listened to this.
Well, yeah, or if you haven't.
Assuming.
If you haven't, then go back and listen to it.
But then he kind of dove into a technology that we haven't even talked about. It was called GameSense, and it was a pitch recognition technology. And it wasn't necessarily feeding back numbers, but it was something that was going to help him visualize pitches coming out of a pitcher's hand. But he understood where that tech played a piece in his game. It wasn't his game. It wasn't his whole thing. I'm sure if he used blast or motion or Rapsodo or whatever, and he probably has, it's a piece of his game. What sliver of that pie is it? I don't know. Maybe a little bit, right?
It's just like hitting drills.
Yeah, I mean, it all takes a piece. I think the problem happens when it becomes a really, really large part or segment of your game, and you start really forgetting about everything else.
You're forgetting what the game is actually about,
right?
Which is, I have to score more runs, and I have to stop you from scoring.
That's the gist. That's how you win. That's how you lose.
It's always funny when I feel like my team's getting into a point where they're getting so consumed by like things other than what the point of the game is. I always ask them the question, what is the point of the game? And literally it goes blank stares. Like everyone goes blank. I don't know if they're thinking blank like Spiker's really lost it, or it's
maybe I should bring some like meaningful quote. It's
should
make me a better human being.
Yeah, no, it's like leadership. But it comes down to the point of the game is to win. How do we win? And then they're like, they're like, this is crazy. This is like, it has to be this A plus Z over the square root of 4.
Nope. 1 + 1 = 2, dude.
Yeah, like, and it's not fair because again, I'm at a coaching level, and
you're higher up on the pyramid.
Yeah, so they're like they're thinking like, oh, okay, he's gonna give this like unbelievable wisdom, but in reality, I'm trying to just simplify it for him, which is, guys, all this stuff is great. We do need it, but understand if you get the outs quicker than the other team, you win the game. That's basically it. Get the outs quicker than the team, and then just scrape across one run. We win. Yeah. However you do that.
And it should be that simple. And that's where that's where, like, when we're talking about tech and how it integrates into the game, I do think there's a point in time with it. And I was trying to look something up here, and I really couldn't remember it. I don't know if you can help me with this, but there's a certain, like, pyramid scheme.
Hierarchy of needs?
Yeah, the hierarchy of needs. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And so think of that in terms of a pyramid. And as a player, you start at the bottom, and there's some real basic fundamentals you need to learn about, the game before you can ever, move up. And as you progress through your career, the hierarchy, your understanding of the game is going to begin to evolve and get better. And I do think that at some point in that pyramid, as you're going up, tech can play a real pivotal role. For us, I think we start implementing it probably more right now at the high school level, but it's also us choosing to let them know what information we want to give them, because an overload information, an overload of tech too early or too late can be a problem. And so at some point I do think it can help, but I don't want to, like, miss the point in this whole thing is like I'll give you an example. It drives me absolutely nuts when I see a dad or a player come in and he's in 4th grade and he's loaded out with every piece of tech ever, or a little gadget or whatever it is of baseball, and he's losing all touch of it. He's losing the point of the game.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. Now, if you ask me, hey Spike, I'm starting out in baseball. This is going to be I played 1 year of rec. I'm going to think about playing travel baseball. Should I get technology? The answer is no. What I do think the technology is for that major level type of player who is looking for another edge, and is trying to advance his skills even more. But you first have to do it's a hierarchy of needs in baseball. You first have to know, you have to have good eye-hand coordination. Your timing has to be really, really good, and you have to know the simplicities of the game. And once you know all the basic mechanics, you're fine. If you can time up a baseball, and be able to see it really well, you're going to be successful in this game. Then if you've felt like you're like, okay, this is becoming a little bit easier, I need to figure out, how do I hit the ball farther, or how do I increase my bat speed, like that type of stuff. But you first have to know how to make contact consistently.
Well, I've said this forever. We struggled, but we took our time before investing in tech. And I know I had this conversation with you. I've had this with Coach Unger. I had this with Jaws. And when talking about investing in tech as for the Tigers, what I always fought with was, what good is this tech? Like, I'll use Rapsodo, for instance, that tells us all that, spin, velocity, trajectory, when the ball moves, etc. What good is that when I got some guys who can't simply step in the same direction 2 times in a row? Like, why does that how is that even supposed to be there? Why would that be important? It's not. That guy has to figure out all those things before I can ever start talking about any of this great information that this great piece of technology provides me.
But I do think it's good to give them a taste.
Well,
but not getting them consumed by it.
Well, it's attention, right?
Yeah.
Because make no mistake about it, the player is different today than it was when me and you were their age. It's a totally different player, because think about everyday life. They have a really advanced phone in their hands 90% of the day that can tell them any piece of information they want at a click of a button. Everything moves so fast at an accelerated pace that, like, baseball, which is by nature a monotonous sport and slow, I think it loses a lot of guys if you don't integrate some sort of, like, piece of technology that they're used to on an everyday basis.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you can become a movie star on TikTok in like 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, that's what's crazy about social media is, like, as social media has grown, it's been, all right, you got 5-6 seconds to get the attention of a person. I'm noticing on TikTok, if I don't get you in the first 2 seconds, you're not stopping on my video, which is crazy to think about, because when you think about as a teaching moment, for me, my whole purpose and my goal is to teach people. I have to get you in 1 to 2 seconds. Do you know how hard that is?
I guess your first word better be very important.
Oh, it's got to be a crazy action. It's got to be something to get you an act, like, and you notice it in lessons. You notice it in training. I've got 5 seconds to get your
Mhm.
attention. When I get your attention, then I've got you. But if I don't have your attention, this is going to be a pretty rough lesson.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the mind's going to wander. You're not going to have buy-in.
Yeah, and I think from a baseball standpoint, and I hope Major League Baseball is addressing this issue with their fan base. Like, the fan base is very loyal, very, very loyal. I'd say it's probably one of the most loyal fan bases besides the NFL.
It's all also very older.
Yeah, it's very older. I would be very concerned if I was the commissioner right now and trying to figure out how do I get the younger generation to buy in on watching a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah. No, and just to go back to this whole topic, I think that is where tech comes into it. I mean, you see it now with them, putting a ton of money into Hawkeye. They're going to be able to tell after each play, like, let's say Mike Trout makes a crazy cool catch. He starts in center field, and he runs all the way to left center gap on a ball that was hit hard, and he makes a diving catch. And now, after that play, they can go back using the Hawkeye technology and tell that Mike Trout's top speed when running was 19.8 miles per hour. He covered 200 feet in ground in 5 seconds. And, now that's the stuff that will keep people at a younger age a lot more interested.
Yeah. If you don't know what Hawkeye is, it's a camera-based system that gives you a lot of information on what the ball's doing. It was very pronounced in cricket because in cricket they have these things called wickets. Do you know what wickets are?
Yep.
Well, your heritage is English, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
You're right in path.
I'm a seasoned vet.
You're a seasoned vet in cricket. So they have these wickets, and the hard thing was figuring out if you would have hit the wicket if it hit the player. So that's where Hawkeye came in to play. Where oh yeah, he would have been out.
Well, think about it. Here's the best example, because I didn't really know what Hawkeye was until this, but I think everybody's watched a tennis match before, and you've watched on Wimbledon, and let's say Roger Federer is playing Rafael Nadal, and Federer hits a ball that he thinks is in, and Nadal thinks it's out. The judge says it's out. Federer challenges. So you see all of a sudden, 2 seconds later on TV, that ball in a simulation is going to that net, and then it leaves that dark row where the ball hit. Was it in? Was it out? That's Hawkeye.
Yep.
And that's that motion sensor camera that is taking 80,000 frames per second or whatever. I just butchered that number, I'm sure, but it's taking so many frames per second into consideration that it can tell you it uses algorithms and math to then shoot back all of these answers.
Yeah, someone's gonna type in and be like, "No, Dave,
nope,
it's
nope,
759 million thousand
well, you
frames
win
per second."
You win. Sorry for trying to promote it, but it's something that's gonna be. I wonder in 5 years, because the acceleration pace of it right now has never been faster. I wonder where it's going to be in 5 years.
Oh, without a doubt.
There's going to be in-game, even for and it's all a trickle-down effect too, because it all starts in the major league level. It all starts where the money is. And then as more tech comes into the space, more cost affordable options get trickled down to where TrackMan was the big thing in Major League Baseball now, and that was $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a unit. And now it's all trickling down, and now you can get a sensor on the knob of your bat that's going to tell you everything and go right to your, Bluetooth right to your phone for $100. And I can't wait till when there's some in-game options that can give the youth baseball player or the high school baseball player in a summer game instantaneous feedback, because it's coming down the chute, and the first guy to get there to do it is going to win.
We're in a crazy run right now with the growth that's going on in just amateur sports. I mean, it's been a crazy run. I'm interested to see if this actually happens, because you can see it. That's the thing. You can see it coming down the road. Tournament companies or facilities like SFA or one of those companies comes in and says, all right, we're going to deck out our fields with this tech. I really think that tournament company or that company, the facility company, is going to win.
Well, even
because I mean, if I'm a coach and I'm doing recruiting, hell yeah, I want to go there.
Well, I mean
it's gonna be so easy to just send over a text to Coach Beezer or Coach Gutton and be like, "This is who I have. This is what my players are doing." You interested?
You're even seeing it now with like a company. Here's a plug for PBR and bullpen tournaments in Indianapolis at Grand Park. I mean, Grand Park for 6 or 7 of their fields has TrackMan on each one of their fields on top of the roof of their concession stands, and they're even going into further tech this year in partnerships with PBR. But I remember playing in a tournament there last year with our 17U team, and a couple guys hit some home runs in one of their bigger tournaments, and got tweeted out by them that said, this guy hit a ball 381 feet with an exit velocity of 92 and a launch angle of whatever 27, and it was all because TrackMan picked that up. And I saw they had monitors behind each and every field that showed every pitcher's stat as well. So where you used to see college coaches show up with all their radar guns, and before every pitch, radar guns would go up. They didn't even have to use their radar guns. They just looked at the monitor. It showed them spin rate. It showed them velocity. It showed them everything.
Yep. If you guys don't know what TrackMan is, it's an in-game unit, meaning that it is out on the field or above the field, wherever, and it is actually a radar-based system, which then it measures the ball and everything like that, what's actually happening on the field. There's a number of other companies that do it, like FlightScope, YakkerTech. I think FlightScope's more camera-based. YakkerTech's more camera-based. If you talk about the previous technologies that we did, you have Rapsodo, which is camera-based, and then you have HitTrax, which is radar-based. So it's like right now it's the wild, wild west when it comes to tech. They're trying to figure out, okay, what's better, radar or camera? That's like the big argument right now. That was a big argument in the ABCA. What is the best way to capture your players' data? And so it's funny because a lot of the youth coaches are like, I don't. But then the college coach is like, yeah, radar, no camera. Like it's just funny.
I mean, I just go back to the investment that's being made in that, and there's college programs sinking $50,000 into tech a year. There's pro programs that are sinking millions upon millions upon millions. I mean, even organizations like, think about from an analytical standpoint. I think when this was 4 or 5 years ago where you interviewed Matt Slater of the St. Louis Cardinals for Tiger TV.
Yes.
And they kind of walked us through the whole back end, the workplace of the Cardinals. And he's like, oh, and here's our analytics team where we have, 8 full-time analytics members just diving into numbers. I wonder if someday that, when it comes our agent's going to even be a part of the game, or is a general manager like John Mozeliak of the St. Louis Cardinals just going to call a free agent and be like, based on the tech that we have and the numbers that you spit out, you are worth 3 years, $8.75 million per year. We're not going higher or lower. That's exactly what the numbers say. Take it or leave it.
That's going to happen without a doubt. Or even injuries.
Scott Boras is going to be like, well, no.
Well, even injuries like Modus. Modus is a wearable technology that soccer players have been using. I think NFL uses it too. But it literally tells you everything that's going on with the body as they're running, and it tells you the inefficiencies. If you can see those inefficiencies in the beginning of their career, you'd be like, all right, I'm going to probably give you $2.5 million. I can't go above that. And the player's going to be like, no, I don't want to do that. But everyone else is going to give him 2.5.
But I try really hard. I'm a great teammate. I don't care.
Well, I think it's going to go if technology goes down. If we keep on going on this run that we're going at, which is tech keeps on trickling down and amateur sports is exploding, then I could see a day where it comes into high school and the colleges will know the inefficiencies of a pitcher's arm. And they'll know exactly what's going on, and they'll be like, this guy's going to get injured in probably 6 months if he gains more velocity, which is probably going to happen because he's going to get bigger and stronger.
Risk assessment?
Yep. Oh, you're going to have risk assessment. I mean, when you think about it, SEC schools, without a doubt, will go down that route. If baseball becomes a revenue-generating sport, which it's starting to get into that way.
It's like you're going to have a risk management insurance person as a job there.
Oh, my gosh. You're going to have actuaries working without a doubt. Someone that's just really good with data, and they're just going to be like, sorry, Vitello, I wouldn't go with that guy.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, I know that you like him. He's
There's
six.
a
He's 6'6".
67.6% chance that he's going to get injured within the next year and a half, and you're going to lose X amount of scholarship money. It's not going to be available to me. That's crazy. It's going to happen though.
I love how you just literally changed it a dime right there.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
I can totally see it.
I've told players this, or coaches this too, is like, I could see a day where like Coach Gutton sends me a text, if he's still coaching at this point, and say, hey, do you have a guy that has this, and this? If so, send me a video. I'm really interested. And then I could see literally the first day he goes out and he sees him, he's like, yeah, I'm going to offer him. Which Coach Gutton is he's slow when it comes to that. He doesn't make a lot of quick, rash decisions on players. He likes to see them a couple times, likes to talk to his network and everything like that. Just like that's how he recruits. But I could totally see a day where that recruiting changes because it's going to go a lot faster. Like coaches are going to make offers on just seeing video and data.
Well, and I think,
and maybe like one game.
You know, whether we're talking at a college level where they're making offers to players to come in and recruiting them, or whether it be a professional level where they're offering contracts. I joke that they're going to spit out a number that's just going to tell them exactly what you're worth. But I think at some point there is going to be where 70% of that decision is made based on numbers. Maybe not 100, because numbers don't tell you everything. It doesn't tell you a coach or a player's work ethic, a character, how he's going to interact with teammates. Is he a good teammate? Is he not? It's not going to tell you those intangibles. But right now, those intangibles mean equally, if not more, than numbers. And I think at some point, numbers are going to outweigh that.
Which is kind of scary because a player like myself, if I would...
You would have probably got lost in the shuffle.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh, without a doubt. I was not the guy that was...
Greg Maddux would have never gotten drafted.
Well, no, Greg Maddux threw hard, though.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He threw hard.
Let's say Greg Maddux mid-late career.
Probably
He would
not.
have been shelved.
Yeah, he would have been shelved. Like, I mean, that's what gets you picked up. It's velocity. Velocity gets you picked up without a doubt. I mean, if you have an exit velocity of 100 off the bat, I mean, you're getting looks. If you were throwing 93, 94, you're getting your looks.
I mean, would Jose Altuve be drafted? Now, I mean, I know that he runs.
Well,
I heard he got down the line at like a 3.3, but like,
yeah,
which is insanely fast.
Well, then let's go down that route. What gets you picked up? A lot of people don't know that. What gets you picked up? Speed. Whether you run or whether you throw hard or whether you hit the ball off the bat, that's going to get you a look.
Well, I mean, we do it at tryouts every year, and
size
whether this is whether it's right or wrong, you know, your first initial thought on a player is based on his numbers.
Yeah.
You know, well, past his looks. Like you look at you look at what he looks like as a player. You can see if he's an athlete, if he's got some intangibles.
Well, that goes down to the tryout thought I always have is you have a tryout. Yes, that's your intro. That's you getting into the door. But your real tryout doesn't start until you actually step into our facility. And that's when the real tryout starts. And then the big time, the show, is the season. That's the show.
Yep.
That's where, okay, this is where I can make moves.
Yeah, and that's when you're really figuring it out. But
yeah. But I mean, and I don't think a lot of people think that way. They think, okay, I got a tryout. I made the team. Congratulations. Now your work starts. And it's the same thing with college. Yes, you got a college coach to like you. He saw a game or saw a number or saw a video on Twitter. He likes you.
It's a door opener.
It's a door opener. I'm interested. I know who you are now. That doesn't mean I'm going to offer you on campus. But then when I do offer you on campus, you've just passed the second phase where now you are making it on campus. Now you have an actual tryout, which is the fall. You have a fall tryout.
Right.
Which is going to make, then the spring is the show.
Right.
Which I don't think a lot of people think that. Once I make the scholarship, I have made it. I have arrived.
That would not be the correct way to go about it.
No, it's not the correct way. It's what have you done for me lately? And that's what the
that is our society. That is everything.
Well, and then that's what the numbers are that's what I think numbers are going to help a lot of players in a lot of categories. Me being who I am and who I was as a player, I think I would have gotten lost in the mix. But I do think that there are some players that did get lost in the mix that I catapulted over because of who I was and my intangibles. And I got the opportunity over them. Now I think it's going to actually switch over. You're going to have more guys that are going to be more metric-based, and it's going to be a metric world when you get into college sports.
Then all of a sudden, does it go back to do the intangibles become more important?
Oh, I think it.
Then all of a sudden, those become the separator.
I think that's gonna. It's ups and it's
because everybody in the world is going to find out what numbers that you have to get. Those are not going to become like a mystery. Those are become very apparent, like easy information to find. It's going to happen. So now when everybody knows that in high school you have to have a 95 exit velocity or better, you have to run a 6.7 60 or better, you have to do this and that. They're all going to find ways to get to that point because that's going to become where you start getting recruited. So then goes back to what becomes the separator. Now it's back
gonna be
to
the intangibles.
Your intangibles.
It's gonna be your leadership. It's gonna be who you are as a person.
Yeah, because that is timeless. Okay,
Yeah.
that's from the beginning of the first game of baseball till whenever I see my last game of baseball.
I think you're
It's
right
never
on
gonna
that.
leave.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I bet you once the information becomes more privy, where people understand, okay, this is the number that I need to get. The ones that really want to play college baseball, professional sports, they'll make sure that they get.
It'll make coaching easier.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's like, listen, dude, it is black and white. You kind of got to get here before the door can open and
Well,
a conversation can start.
And when we were getting recruited, it wasn't black and white. It was very gray.
For sure.
Oh, it was like such a confusing way of getting through baseball. Like, okay, how does a college coach get to me?
Well, you kind of
how
always
do they see me?
You always heard that cliche phrase of
Now it's like so easy.
You always heard that cliche phrase of, and it holds true in certain aspects, but it was like the coaches will still find the good ones. They'll find you if you're good enough. They'll find you.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
Like now,
if I'm playing on a Legion team in Hobunk, Kansas, there's no way a college coach is going to find out.
Yeah,
unless I throw like 94, 95.
Yeah, but you got to do something pretty spectacular.
If you're in that situation, you've got to do something super spectacular. If you're a person that's kind of like on the fringe.
But now with numbers and tech, and I can totally see, this is going to help that certain player. I can see companies like Rapsodo and Blast Motion and so because they're in the business too of collecting data. You don't make any mistake. They collect all of your data. They have it all because it's all in cloud.
Well, I was talking to one of their main guys, and he was asking me, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this. I don't want to give away any information because I don't know what they're working on, but it's gonna be really cool."
Yeah,
I hate being that guy. Like, hey, I had this conversation. It's gonna be really cool. Sorry about you. I have the information. I don't want to be that guy, but it is gonna be cool.
Well, and let's just say that they decide that they gather all that tech, and now they start making leaderboards and they start making things out there that
it's gonna be awesome.
Where they can promote a player in the middle of Iowa who might not have the opportunities afforded to him that maybe a big city player would have, but he's using this technology, he's working his butt off, and he's doing all these great things. He's a high-level athlete. Now that guy might be able to get more publicized than previously before because of where his disposition, where he's at.
Oh, without a doubt. I would love for that to happen because then it kind of like tugging at my heartstrings. Like, that's the type of player that I've always wanted to help out, is that guy that's literally just trying to figure it out. He doesn't know how to get in that route. He's confused about college coaches and recruiting. Why is this college coach ignoring me when I keep on sending these messages and everything like that? Like, that's the stuff I love helping out because, that was me at one point. Now, if you start adding in that tech piece where you start having this big business helping small guys, that is awesome.
Well, and this is one of the most important things that I think tech will always do, and we've talked about it in the past. It's a connectivity tool. Over the numbers are great, the information's outstanding. Can it help your career? Of course, but it's such a big connectivity piece, and ultimately it'll keep people in the game longer, I think. It connects you to your coach, it connects you to your team, it can connect you to people you don't even know. And
without a doubt.
It is one of the biggest social databases I think that will ever be happening in the sport.
And I don't even think they realize it's happening.
No.
Think about this. So we're in quarantine, obviously. Hopefully it gets uplifted here in a little bit because I'm tired of being in the facility by myself.
Right.
But one of my players' dads texted me, and then he added Jackson into the conversation and said, hey, we have this blast data. Can you take a look at it in video? Literally went on, did a comparative analysis right away. Literally didn't have a lesson. Usually we have lessons 30 minutes. But now I'm giving him a 5-minute conversation of like what I see, and now he can go do what he needs to do on his own by himself.
Yep. I mean, it was unheard of. You couldn't do it unless you were face to face.
Oh,
now you can do it.
I mean, if I had an instructor that literally told me like, okay, this is what you need to do. Here's what the major leaguer does. This is what you do. Oh my God, I would eat that up.
For sure.
It would have made me a 10 times better.
Builds a
ball player.
relationship tenfold. It's a way to keep interest in young players. It's a way to, like I said, it's all about growing a love for the game. And young players, believe it or not, they love the game for different reasons than me and you do. And it's very true, and it's not going to change. And so that tech does play that integral role of keeping younger players interested and keeping younger players invested.
So I'm guessing you'd say that you're bullish on tech.
I think you have to be. I think, I was probably that guy, like most people, that fought it for a little bit, that being like, well, hey, there's going to be a place, but I'm not going to put all my interest there. I'm not going to put all my time there. But I think you're being real silly if you're that dinosaur saying that this is not going to be what baseball is in 10 years. And that you should.
Well, if you're a person that says like, I don't need to know what an attack angle is, I don't need to know what a launch angle is. Like a lot of people don't even know what the differences between attack angle and launch angle, and that's scary because most of the college world knows that.
Well, it's just like anything. If you're not, I think you say that because you're scared of it, because you're scared of the new. So, in my opinion, I'm very bullish on it. It's already a huge part of our game. It's not going away. It's going to get bigger and more integral, more, it's going to be a day-to-day thing for players and coaches. So if you're not jumping on board, and I'm not saying you have to go all in on it or all in on a certain piece, but if you're not listening, you're going to get passed up. You're going to be a dinosaur.
Do you think tech needs to be, like if I'm a high school player, I should have tech?
I think it would be a good idea to start learning about it. Do you have to have it? No, you don't have to. It will help for sure. To what level of investment you need to give into it, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't go out there and spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on it and just throw money at it without doing your research and trying. More importantly, I think it's going to be different based on each individual. So understanding what your needs are and how a tech could help that, I think that'll be really important, which is hard for players, but ask your coaches. Ask, what's levels of my game that I might need more than others. And then try and associate that with a piece of tech that maybe you can see growth with.
Well, then what about 14 and under?
Again, that's more of like, that's I would use tech in that version of keeping them interested, keeping them having fun. Because they do, it's not that we're making major crazy adjustments that we're trying to fill their brain with, you got to do this really, really hard thing while also worrying about your numbers, while worrying about this part of your swing, et cetera. You're going to overwhelm them. But you can use it in a game sense to, help them stay excited about it. You just hit this ball this far, or you just did this like that. And I think kids will like that. So I think it plays a different role at a younger level than it does at an older level, where you get more into the numbers and trying to make higher level adjustments based on those numbers and the feedback that tech presents it.
Just to be very transparent, we are owners of Rapsodo and Blast. I personally think those are the best tech pieces for what we do. So if you are interested in tech, if you're a player or a youth coach or a simple high school coach that has 10 or 12 players, I would highly recommend in looking at wearable technology, not the technology that's going to tell you after contact data, more of pre-contact data. In pitchers, same thing. I think there's a number of technology pieces out there that is good for wearable. I'm not the pitching side. Dave can probably go more into that. But I'm going to go into my closing pitch, if that's all right with you, Dave.
Go ahead.
My closing pitch is that new stuff is very scary and it's hard to learn because there's a new language that's involved. If you're going to try to learn Spanish, and you're going to go work in Mexico and you say, I'm not going to learn it. Everyone else is going to learn English. You're going to lose. I think it's the same thing with new technology. You have to be willing to open up and just kind of taste it and start diving a little bit into it every once in a while and start understanding the language. Once you understand the language of the tech, it becomes very, very simple, and you can equate it to a lot of things that you've already known about the game. And you can start making comparisons like, oh, this is why this happens. That's why I absolutely, when tech started coming out, I was in the same boat. I was like, this is stupid. It's not going to work. We need to keep this game super simple. But as I started diving into it, it gave me a lot of things that I could look at and help players out and say, oh, this is what happened. And the communication was tenfold. I was making more connections with players than I've ever had before.
My closing pitch is this simple. Tech is evolution. It's 1990 versus 2020. Life was a lot different back in 1990 than it is now. There's so much more things available to us that can help better our lives. Same thing in baseball and same thing with tech. Today's game is going to be totally different than, 2030's game. So do you want to be a coach in 2030 or a player in 2030 playing a 2020 game, or do you want to be playing a 2030 game? Because if you're playing that 2020 game, then all I can say is you better be uber talented, because if you're not, I don't see ignoring tech or just saying and throwing it away as being a valuable option to you.
Because if you do go to the upper levels, it's going to happen anyways.
Yep.
All right, guys, that's our closing pitches. We want to hear your closing pitch on this piece right here. We use an app called Anchor. Really cool app. You can actually message us and send us an audio wave by just downloading the app in the iTunes or Google Play Store, and then send us a wave, and then we could possibly play it on this next episode. But if you don't want to do that, we also accept DMs. Follow us on social media. Please subscribe to our podcast. You can either follow us on Spotify or you can subscribe to us in Apple. Also, give us a review, 5-star preferably. That helps us out a lot. Subscriptions and reviews help us, and it helps us reach more people.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. Until next time.
See ya. Thank you for watching or listening, or both, to The Closing Pitch. If you would like to get your closing pitch featured on the show, we use a podcasting app called Anchor, where you can submit your statement or question via audio. Or what you can do is comment in the comment section of this post. We also accept direct messages. Please give us the A-OK if you do send us a DM to use your statement or question on the show. Last thing, please give us a review on your platform of choice, 5-star preferably, and we value your opinion, and this allows us to reach more people. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.